I have a friend who is in the film and TV industry. She's an actor. And lately she's been working on a new project, a film short. And she was telling me about how she needed to raise some funds for this new project, for this film short. And so her idea was that she would do some cooking for people and have that be part of a fundraiser. And she's a foodie, she loves to cook, but she was saying that this project made her, she had never been so concerned about food safety, and she had never been so worried about being good enough, to prepare food for these people and have them pay money for it and support her project. And that feeling of not enoughness and I can't ever do it right came out for her really strongly in this project in a way that she didn't expect. And so I was listening to this story and I was thinking, I can kind of relate in a way, because in my job, I can't really get away from the topic of politics. And being in a politically diverse community and leading a politically diverse community, someone's always going to disagree with whatever I might say. And so this feeling of I can't do it right, I kind of get it, especially at this politically tense time. So as we all know about ourselves, we're a politically diverse community. This means we have some Democrats. This means we have some Republicans. Also, we're a Zionist community. We're a proudly Zionist community, and in our community, different individuals have different ways of being Zionist, have different ways of being pro-Israel. And also, it's true, and personally this makes me somewhat uncomfortable, I have to say, that there are some in our community who are not Zionist, who don't support Israel, which is very different than my own personal view. So the question is, at least the question that I've been thinking about quite a bit, especially over the last few weeks, how can we get along? Is it impossible in this moment to get along? And the tension, not really just in our community, but in the world at large, it has just been so much that last week after services, I'll admit I was feeling pretty down. I was feeling pretty depressed. And so after Shabbat, I'm like on the couch, you know how it is, and I turn on the TV, and it happened to go back to a news station that I had been watching a couple days ago. Or a couple days before. But this was Saturday night, so it wasn't the regular news program. It was a news comedy. And so this person, it was the end of one show and the beginning of another show that I saw. And so this one person was speaking about the political diversity in our nation, and wow, he took both sides to task. He was not polite. It was extreme, and it was really funny. And after he totally took both sides to task, he talked personally about how his side, the side that he voted for, let him down and how disappointed he was. Now, the show right after that was like a variety show. There was a diversity of perspectives. There was the whole thing that people of different views around the same table and have it be a funny thing. And there was this moment where two people who were expressing different political views, and they were also different racially, they were going to do like a fist bump, but they were like, oh, no, we can't do this, because they were like, this is going to be captured and shared on social media, and it's going to be like retweeted in ways that like we're not going to be able to deal with this. And so they were like, okay, holding back from the fist bump. It was cathartic for me to watch these comedy shows and to open up this new way of having this political conversation, using the powerful tool, one of my favorite tools of humor, to actually be able to talk to one another, which is hard to do, especially in this moment. But in this moment, we do have to actually talk to one another, and we have to actually listen. A long time ago, very early in my own Jewish journey, I had the amazing and unexpected honor of learning with Rabbi Margaret Moers-Wenig, who is a professor of homiletics at Hebrew Union College in New York City. And she taught me that sermons are a conversation between a rabbi and the rabbi's community. They're a conversation. So what this means is that I have to listen to you. That means that you all have to talk to me. Many of you in this community have talked to me, and thank you. Thank you, all of you who have. I'm not going to call you out individually, but you know who you are. I'm really grateful for those conversations, and I've listened to you in those conversations. Now, this is my second year of being Rabbi of Adat Shalom, and in my first year, I had a lot of conversations with people who thought I was too liberal, who placed themselves to the right of me politically. These conversations sometimes shifted my own views. They did, But more than that, they really shifted what I spoke about and how I spoke about those things. Now, sometimes in those conversations with certain individuals, we reached an impasse where I felt one way, the other person felt another way, and we're never going to agree with each other. But there was amazing success that the dialogue continued and continues to this day, which is something that is a miracle and something that I'm really very proud of. Now this year, the second year of my being rabbi of this community, I'm having conversations with people who think I'm too conservative. The opposition from the left. And honestly, I have to tell you, these conversations have been a lot harder. There's been a lot of kind of like passing comments that have led immediately to an impasse. People saying, Rabbi, you should say this, and I've had to say, I can't say what you want me to say. You know, really the advanced level of those conversations has been, I can't say what you want me to say, and we're actually sitting down and talking so I can explain why I can't say what you want me to say. But in the past couple of months, it's been really, really hard. I've received emails from people who aren't willing to speak to me. I've experienced people walking out of my speaking when I say words that rub them the wrong way. And I feel like that is extremely damaging because this is a conversation. It's a conversation between, a sermon is a conversation, and really being together and communicate in community is a conversation in which I have to talk and listen, and you all also have to talk and listen. I received one snail mail letter, several pages in length, from a member of our community who said that I'm too conservative, my view, example of opposition from the left, and I called this person back right away, and it was one of those situations where like your phone doesn't give you the voicemail until a really long time after. So weeks later, he called me back and he said, I'm so sorry, like I wanted to call you back, but I just got this voicemail like 5 minutes ago. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad you called because you're the first person who's expressed this viewpoint who's been willing to talk to me. And we met for coffee recently. We had an incredibly healing conversation. We talked about so many different things, and that really brought a lot of lightness and a lot of hope to me personally in this ongoing conversation. So, opposition from the right, opposition from the left. People who think I'm too liberal, people who think I'm too conservative. This might, in that light, not be terribly surprising that I'm a centrist. I am from the San Francisco Bay Area, so we're going to kind of skew in one direction rather than the other, but my orientation is very much centrist. And I appreciate how this community, how Adat Shalom, pulls me to the center from both sides. I feel like this is invigorating, and I feel so proud to be in a community where not just like one time for like a special event, but week after week, we sit in the same room with people who we really disagree with. Who else is doing this? Seriously, who else is doing this? I'm so proud to be a part of this, and I'm so proud to lead this community. So last week after services, we were at Kiddush. I'm feeling pretty down and depressed about reality right now, but I had a conversation with someone who was saying, there's so much going on in the world that is not good. Doesn't that make you think that we have to have Mashiach, that we have to have the Messiah? And it was amazing because I responded, I was just thinking about Mashiach. And the reason why is because, as I've mentioned before, I subscribe to the Times of Israel podcasts, and there was an episode recently of What Matters Now was a conversation between Yossi Klein Halevi and Rabbi Yitz Greenberg, two great scholars of our time. And so this was about Rabbi Yitz Greenberg's recent book. And so Yossi Klein Halevi was talking about this book, and he was saying that this book is really about the core idea that Judaism is about the enhancement of life. In other words, tikkun olam. Okay, so what Yossi Klein Halevi said, some people are going to not like this, but I'll just say what he said. He said, tikkun olam is a much abused and degraded term, but you, Rabbi Yitz Greenberg, says Yossi Klein Halevi, have given it in your book dignity and vitality. Okay, so Rabbi Yitz Greenberg responds and he says, yes, there are people who trivialize the term tikkun olam and make it a nice Jewish kosher-style flavor of progressive politics. But the key here is to see the messianism. When people think of Judaism's influence on the world, he continues, everybody acknowledges monotheism. You have 2 billion Christians and 1 billion plus Muslims who have learned to follow monotheism. But, Rabbi Greenberg continues, I'm talking about the second most influential Jewish idea, messianism, meaning that this world, not the future world, not the non-material world, but this world, the world of human mortality and five senses, this world can and should be repaired to the point of perfection. This means not accepting the status quo. Until we can get the world to the level that it should be, which is fully honoring and upholding the dignity and value of all life, and in particular human life, says Rabbi Greenberg, until we get the world to this level, we are to, in every way, work to repair and to change the world. The basic idea is that we're going to overcome poverty, hunger, oppression, inequality before the law, discrimination, and sickness. Rabbi Greenberg continues and says the material world can be repaired. If we have 3 billion people in this world following monotheism, how about 3 billion people who are working for this vision of messianism, this vision of tikkun olam? This is a messianism that is totally recognized in the natural world, the real world. This is not drawing upon the vision of extremists who say, says Rabbi Greenberg, that we can do anything we want and God will back us up. If we're reckless or arrogant or destructive, it doesn't matter. And if we don't have the ability to pull it off, God will step in and do the rest. That's not the messianism we're talking about, says Rabbi Greenberg. And he continues and he shares a story. There's a great passage in Elie Wiesel's Gates of the Forest, where a survivor goes to visit the Rebbe, and the Rebbe says the sufferings of the Holocaust are bringing the birth pangs of the Messiah. The survivor says, what? You believe there's a supernatural power who's going to come and transform the world? If that person had that ability and it was going to come, he should have already come. And if he chose not to come, says a survivor, I despise him. I reject him. It's too late for the Messiah to come. And then, of course, the Rebbe says, since it's too late for the Messiah to come, we'll have to bring Mashiach ourselves. If we do our homework, concludes Rabbi Greenberg, if humanity does what it can do, we can overcome poverty, that it's an incredible calling for businessmen, economists, and entrepreneurs. We can overcome hunger, says Rabbi Greenberg. That's a tremendous calling for farmers and for irrigation and for all kinds of ways of developing food. Overcoming sickness, he says, what an incredible opportunity for doctors and social workers and technicians. That's what humanity should be doing. That's where our religious calling should be. Mashiach takes work, clearly. I want to do this work. I want to do it with you. I can't do it without you. Like I already said, we're sitting here in a room week after week with people who we don't agree with, people whose views we really are opposed to. And sometimes we have conversations. We are well on our way to bringing Mashiach through this action. We are in a diverse group. You all are listening to me, and you give me the opportunity to listen to you and all your viewpoints. We will work together, starting with this dialogue, to bring Mashiach. It is possible to talk, to listen, and to get along in this moment. And if that's possible, anything's possible. Shabbat Shalom.